let's get right into it. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're bringing you a brand new explainer that's basically going to serve as your ultimate toolkit for absolutely mastering your DGCA radio telephony or RT exams. We're going to completely demystify Annex 10 and Document 4444 from the AIP India. You know, it's funny. You can know exactly how to manipulate the flight controls like an absolute pro, but if you don't know how to communicate in the airspace, well, you're missing half the equation. So we're going to break down exactly how pilots talk to air traffic control, how they talk to other aircraft, and crucially, what to say when things go wrong. And hey, before we really dive in, I highly urge all of you watching to subscribe to the Pilot Arnav YouTube channel. We're constantly putting out top-tier DGCA aviation content just like this, and trust me, you won't want to miss what we have coming up. So, what is our flight plan for this explainer? First up, we'll hit essential Q codes and altitudes. Second, the incredibly strict priority of aviation messages. Third, standard aviation phraseology. Fourth, we'll decode METAR and weather data. And finally, we'll wrap up with emergency frequencies and codes. Okay, Section 1, Essential Q Codes and Altitudes. When we're talking about direction and navigation, you really need to focus on two essentials. If you need a magnetic heading towards a station, you're going to use the code QDM. Just think of it as pointing your nose directly at the airport for a landing. But conversely, if you need a magnetic heading away from the station, like say you're taking off and flying outbound, you use QDR. It's a really simple distinction, but it is absolutely fundamental for your navigation. Now, when it comes to measuring our vertical position, the two biggest terms you're going to use are QNH and QFE. Let's imagine for a second you're flying out of Delhi Airport. Delhi is down on the flat plains, right? Pretty close to sea level. So when you report your altitude there, you naturally relate it to mean sea level, or MSL. That is your QNH. But what if you're flying into a high-altitude airport way up in the mountains like Ladakh? Ladakh is sitting thousands of feet above sea level. In this case, we really don't care about the sea. We care about the solid ground right below us. So we report our height based on the field elevation of that specific airport, and that is your QFE. Knowing exactly which datum to use based on your terrain is literally a lifesaver. Let's visualize this. Imagine our aircraft is actually climbing into the sky out of Delhi. We start our climb on QNH, referencing sea level. But as we get higher up, we obviously can't have every single plane using different local sea level pressures, right? That would be total chaos. So we pass through this buffer zone called the transition layer. And the very moment we climb above the transition level, we standardize everything. We switch our altimeter datum to QNE. Now, according to our DGCA source guidelines, QNE is set directly to 103.2 hectopascals. Once you're on QNE, you are no longer flying at a quote-unquote altitude. You're flying at flight levels, like flight level 180 or flight level 300. Then later on, when you descend and hit that transition layer again, you just switch right back to QNH. Moving right along, Section 2, Priority of Aviation Messages. Let's talk about the rules of the radio, because not all calls are created equal. Picture this real-world scenario. You are the pilot in command. You've got 100 passengers sitting behind you. Suddenly, the cabin crew bursts in and informs you that a passenger is suffering a severe heart attack. You need an air ambulance waiting on the runway like yesterday. Do you pick up the radio and declare Mayday, or do you declare a pan-pan? Take a second and really think about it. Okay, so the crucial point here is that a passenger heart attack actually falls under an urgency message, which means you would use the call pan-pan. And in fact, you've got to repeat it 3 times to really grab ATC's attention. Pan-pan, pan-pan, pan-pan. Now, the highest tier, priority 1, is distress. That is strictly reserved for grave and imminent danger to the aircraft itself. Think an engine failure or a fire. And that's when you call Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Right below distress and urgency, we have direction-finding messages, say if you're lost and need ATC to guide you. After that comes flight safety messages. Priority 5 is meteorological messages, like if you're warning the plane a few miles behind you about some severe turbulence you just punched through. And finally, sitting at the bottom at priority 6, covers your routine flight regularity messages. All right, Section 3, Standard Aviation Phraseology. This is where we get into the really fun stuff. This standard phraseology is essentially the secret code of aviation. It's carefully designed to prevent disastrous miscommunications across global language barriers. When pilots and ATC speak, they use a very specific vocabulary. For instance, in aviation, we never say the number 9. We say niner. Why? To ensure it absolutely isn't confused with the German word for no, 9, over a crackly, noisy radio. We never say point, we say decimal. So you'd say Mach decimal 84. If we mean yes, we just say affirm. If we need someone to wait, it's standby. And here's a absolute golden rule. We pronounce numbers individually. If the wind is from 0 degrees at 70 knots, you don't say 20 or 70. You say 0 and 70 knots. Remember, English might not be the first language of the controller you're talking to, so enunciating individual digits totally prevents them from accidentally writing down a completely wrong heading or speed. Oh, and time? Time is always strictly read in UTC. Plus, your cockpit clock must be accurate to within a mere 30 seconds of UTC. There is strict discipline required in our word choices. Take correct versus correction. If ATZ asks if you're cleared for flight level 360 and you are, you simply say correct. But if you accidentally jump on the radio and say you're climbing to 360 when you were actually cleared for 370, you must immediately say correction, flight level 370. It explicitly fixes a spoken error. Another really great example is the word break. ATC uses break to separate two different pieces of information that are both going to you. But if ATC uses break, they're separating messages going to two completely different aircraft. Now, when you first fire up the radios, ATC will often ask you, how do you read? You reply using a simple 1 to 5 scale. 1 means the signal is completely unreadable, 3 means it's readable but with some difficulty, and 5 means perfectly readable, loud and clear. By the way, there's this classic aviation term, Wilco, which simply means I understand your message and will comply. But here's a quick word of advice from our sources to all the trainee pilots out there. Absolutely avoid using Wilco right now. Honestly, it just sounds a bit too confident for a trainee. Just wait until you've actually landed the airline job before you start throwing Wilco around on the frequency. Okay, let's shift gears. Section 4, decoding METAR and weather. So we receive weather in a few different ways. Locally near the airport, you're going to tune into an ATS or DATS broadcast, which gives you the immediate terminal info. But the gold standard, the global standard for weather reporting, is the METAR. At first glance, a METAR looks like just a random string of nonsense code, but it actually tells a complete story. Let's decode this one right here for Delhi Airport, designated as VIDP. First, the timestamp tells us this was issued on the 7th day of the month at 0200 Zulu time. The wind is coming from 000 degrees, so dead on true north, at 3 knots. Visibility is 2,000 meters. Then we see BR, which stands for mist. SKC means the sky is completely clear. The numbers 10 over 8, those give us our temperatures. The air temp is 10 degrees, and the dew point is 8 degrees. And here's a quick pro tip for you. When those two numbers get really close together, it means rain or fog is highly likely. Finally, Q1032 tells us the QNH pressure setting is 103.2, and no sig simply means no significant changes are expected in the next 2 hours. Easy, right? But what about when the sky isn't clear? Well, pilots measure cloud cover using a system called octas, which basically just divides the sky up into eighths. If 1 to 2 eighths are covered, we report few clouds. 3 to 4 eighths is scattered, 5 to 7 eighths is broken, and a full 8 out of 8 coverage? That's overcast. But honestly, the absolute best word you can ever see on a METAR is CAVOC. It stands for Ceiling and Visibility OK. It is quite literally the definition of a perfect flying day. Specifically, it means you have greater than 10 kilometers of visibility, absolutely no clouds below 1,500 meters or the minimum sector altitude, 0 cumulonimbus storm clouds anywhere in sight, and 0 precipitation or shallow fog. Just pure blue skies and smooth flying all day. Finally, Section 5, Emergency Frequencies and Codes. We're entering the final phase of our toolkit. It's the part no pilot ever wants to use, but every pilot absolutely must master. When things go completely wrong, your transponder is your best friend. Inside the cockpit, you've got an SSR transponder that sends a 4-digit squawk code straight to air traffic control's radar. If you are experiencing a severe general emergency, we're talking an engine fire or a catastrophic structural failure, you immediately change that code to 7700. This instantly triggers alarms in the ATC center, letting them know right away that you're in distress, even if you literally can't speak on the radio. But what if your radios just completely die? You have total radio failure. You can neither transmit nor receive. In that scenario, you squawk 7600. When ATC sees 7600 pop up on their radar screen, they know you are still up there flying the plane, but they have to clear the airspace around you because they simply can't talk to you. And finally, the most chilling code of them all, 7500. You squawk 7500 if your aircraft is being hijacked or subjected to unlawful interference. This silently alerts the authorities on the ground to your precise situation without tipping off the hijackers sitting right there in the cabin. Now, if you do need to make a distress call on the radio, and you aren't already talking to a specific controller, you broadcast on the international distress frequencies, 121.5 MHz or 243 MHz. If you happen to be out over the ocean, the maritime distress frequencies are 2182 kHz and 500 kHz. And if the absolute worst-case scenario happens and the plane crashes, your aircraft is equipped with an ELT, an emergency locator transmitter. This incredible device activates automatically upon impact and will continuously broadcast your exact coordinates to search and rescue teams for 48 solid hours. It's a good reminder that you are never truly alone up there. Which brings us to our final, somewhat provocative thought for today. You might know exactly how to fly the plane, but do you know how to talk to the sky? Mastering these communications in NX10, it really isn't just about passing your DGCA exams. It's about becoming a deeply safe professional aviator who can command the airspace with absolute confidence. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this deep dive into aviation communication. And remember, if you want to stay incredibly sharp and fully master your exams, be sure to subscribe to the Pilot Arnav YouTube